Let me be very clear. Political correctness is a beautiful idea. And what it tells you is be very sensitive in your language. Don't needlessly offend anyone. But to move beyond that to where it is today, saying that certain things may not be said because they might upset somebody, that, I'm afraid, has gone beyond the limit and has become an inhibition or restriction of free speech. Safe spaces. You know what is a safe space? Let me tell you something. I never trained as a rabbi at university. I never even dreamed of being a rabbi. Elaine never dreamed. She was marrying a rabbi, okay? It was a late, unscheduled career change. And I trained as a philosopher in Cambridge and then at Oxford, and at a time when every philosopher I knew was an atheist. And after completing my undergraduate degree, I went to seminary in Israel, and I came back very, very religious. Much more religious than I am now. Terrifyingly religious. My supervisor was the late Sir Bernard Williams, who was the greatest atheist of his time. He was a really, really intelligent atheist. Not all atheists are, I'm sorry to say, but he really was. So here you have this passionate, lapsed Catholic atheist supervising this bearded, mystical, very religious Jew. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. He never, ever made fun of my religious belief. He never ridiculed anything. He simply wanted me to be lucid, to explain, to be rational, to, obey all the disciplines that I had learned as a philosopher. And the knowledge that an atheist and a religious Jew could sit together in mutual respect and learn from one another meant that I could face anyone and anything subsequently without fear. That was the safe space. Not because he stopped me saying what I believed, even though it offended him clearly deeply, but because he took me seriously, because he gave me the space to articulate my view. And he would challenge it on rational grounds, but not ridicule it. And because of that, because I knew he had been described as the brightest man in England, that was what he was known as, because I knew I was able to speak and get a respectful hearing from the brightest man in England who disagreed with everything I believed, that gave me the confidence to travel safely against all the hostile interviewers, all the angry atheists, all the people who are against my religious and political opinions. That is how you create safety, by giving a respectful hearing to views with which you disagree. And that is the great tradition of John Stuart Mill. But as I mentioned last night, you can trace it back several centuries before John Stuart Mill to a Christian writer, John Milton, in his defense of free speech called Areopagitica. If you travel 50 years earlier than that, you go to a rabbi who was one of my ancestors, called the Maharal of Prague, Rabbi Judah Lowy of Prague, who makes the same argument in Prague 50 years before John Stuart Mill. And if you travel 2 centuries earlier than that, you get to the first person who made this case, who was the Islamic thinker Averroes. So there is a lovely, lovely story of defenders of free speech, first a Muslim, then a rabbi, then a Christian, then John Stuart Mill, then my beloved Sir Bernard Williams. And that is how you create safe space, not by silencing opinions, but by giving them a respectful hearing. And this is how you should be politically correct. Don't ban any views whatsoever, but never be less than polite and sensitive in the way you address everyone. That way, you will be part of a great university, and you will take a stand against the narrowing of discourse, which will be a disaster to every university who adopts it. So here we are celebrating our differences, and that's the joy of real safe spaces. Thank you.